Welcome back to the Ryoko Show. I'm so happy you are here today. Whether you are out on a walk, doing the dishes, or just taking a quiet moment for yourself, thank you for tuning in. And today's episode is one I believe so many of us need to hear, especially in this busy, achievement-focused world. Happiness starts within, breaking free from external validation. Well, I'll be honest, this wasn't always easy for me to say. I used to believe that happiness was something that I could earn. If I just worked hard enough, achieved enough, proved myself enough, then I would feel happy. I would feel worthy. But that mindset didn't bring happiness. It brought burnout, disconnection, and self-doubt. So today, I want to share my journey with you from chasing external success to discovering the deep peace and fulfillment that comes from reconnecting with myself. And I hope this episode reminds you that you are already worthy, that your happiness isn't something you have to chase. It's something you can choose to cultivate from within. Burnout didn't happen overnight for me. It was a slow build up, like a water dripping into a bucket until one day it overflows. For me, it started when I moved to the States for university after graduating from high school in Japan. At that time, my English wasn't fluent. I had studied English, of course, but suddenly I was taking university level classes, trying to write essays, understand the lectures, and have conversations, all in a language that wasn't my own. It was so overwhelming. And instead of giving myself compassion, I went into overdrive. I studied constantly. I triple checked every sentence before I spoke. I avoided asking for help because I didn't want to look weak or less capable. And I felt I have to prove that I deserve to be there. And this wasn't just pressure, it was fear of being judged, and fear of being misunderstood, fear of being seen as not good enough. Also, fear of disappointing my mom because my mom was not happy with my decision to go to university in the States. So I wanted to graduate within 4 years with a good grade. And that fear made me overcompensate. I skipped meals, slept very little, and rarely took breaks. And emotionally, I became isolated. And not because I didn't want to connect or make new friends. It's just I was so overwhelmed with study that I didn't have time for social life. And years later, when I moved to Montreal and began working full time, that pattern didn't go away. I pushed harder, taking business school classes after work, telling myself, this is how I finally feel fulfilled. This is how I feel worthy. I need to be successful. But instead of fulfillment, I just felt emptier and really exhausted. On one side, everything looked great. I had a stable job, I was pursuing higher education, and I was checking all the boxes. But on the inside, I was disconnected from myself and from a real joy. It took me a long time to understand why I was living like that. Looking back, I could see where it began. As a child, I was praised when I performed well at school, when I got good grades, when I behaved properly, and when I met others' expectations. While praise isn't a bad thing, but I learned something not healthy underneath it, that love and acceptance were conditional. If I'm not achieving, I don't matter. If I'm not doing well, I'm not lovable. That belief got buried deep inside me, and without even realizing, I started to live my life trying to earn love, earn belonging, and earn value through performance, through achievement, and through constantly doing. Rest felt like laziness, failure felt like rejection, and asking for help felt like weakness. I wasn't living from a sense of worth, I was constantly trying to prove it. And this is what happens when our self-worth is tied to external validation. We live in a hamster wheel. No matter how fast we run, it's never enough. My turning point came slowly, like the sun rising after a long night. After business school, I remember sitting at home one day thinking, I never want to work this hard just to be successful again. It was like my body and spirit finally spoke up and said, no more. For the first time in years, I had space. That space felt very strange. All of a sudden, after work, I had free time. I didn't need to go to school. I didn't need to study for final exams. And I felt like I became lazy because I was not doing something productive. And I didn't know what to do with this free time that I had. So I started to read more, and slowly I adapted to this new way of living. I started to reconnect with things that brought me joy, taking yoga classes, taking time to cook meals, going to dance class, and simply being. I felt like I could finally live like a normal person, enjoying free time, taking classes that I wanted to take, taking a vacation. So I enjoyed this free time for a few years until the pandemic hit. Suddenly, the whole world was on pause. The distractions were gone, and all the questions I had been avoiding started to rise up. Is this the life I really want to keep living? Is this job, the international business industry, is this really something that I want to do it until I retire? What if there is more to my life, more to my potential? As I asked these questions, I started to feel more stuck and stagnant and became really anxious about my future because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I started journaling more, going deeper into reflection and exploring parts of myself I had ignored for years. I realized I had never really asked myself, what do I want? What lights me up? And that's when the deeper inner work began. I wasn't just reacting to life anymore. I started designing it from inside out. So how do we shift from chasing happiness to cultivating it? Here are a few practices that really helped me rebuild my inner foundation. First, practicing gratitude. I started each morning by choosing 3 things I was grateful for, but it didn't stop at the list. I asked why. Why am I grateful for this cup of coffee? Why does this message from a friend mean so much? Instead of focusing on lack or focusing on something that was not working, I trained my brain to focus on what was working in my life. 2, seeing life as a miracle. So this one came from slowing down, noticing the way sunlight moved across my floor, the smell of food cooking, the warmth of my blankets at night. And when I was constantly chasing validation, I missed these small miracles. But when I slowed down, I saw how beautiful life already was. I used to take many things for granted, but I realized that nothing in life we can take for granted. Everything we have is a miracle. 3, self-acceptance. Maybe this was the biggest one. I started meeting myself where I was, not where I thought I should be. I gave myself permission to rest, to say no, to make mistakes, and be okay with them. And I started treating myself with compassion I had always given to others, but not really given to myself. And this wasn't fixing myself. It was about coming home to who I already was. Before the fear, before the pressure, and before the conditioning, I really learned to accept who I was, flaws and all, and I started to see that I was not that bad. I was always focused on achieving, but never focused on accepting every part of myself. So here is what I want to leave you with. Your happiness is not something you have to earn. It's something you can choose to nurture from within. You are not your achievements, and you are not your productivity, and you are not the expectations placed on you by others. You are already enough just as you are. If you are chasing external success and still feeling empty, I invite you to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what am I grateful for right now? And what would it feel like to be enough even without doing anything, just existing in this moment? And let that question sit with you today. Happiness is not something that you get from external achievements. Happiness is something that you feel within, and you can develop that sensory to feel happy from small things in life and not to take anything in life for granted. And if this episode resonated with you, if you've experienced burnout, or if you are learning to let go of needing other people's approval, I'd love to hear from you. Go to the show note and connect with me on social media. Remember, you don't have to prove your worth. You are already worthy and you are already enough. And your happiness, it starts within. See you next time. Keep shining.